Chris Jericho fuels WWE speculation. Chris Jericho just made an announcement that has the entire wrestling world reading between the lines like we're back in English class analyzing poetry. The Learning Tree, the Demo God, the Ocho, whatever he's calling himself this week, just announced his 7th wrestling cruise for 2026. And here's the kicker. He didn't mention AEW once. Not a single time. And suddenly everyone's going full conspiracy theorist mode trying to figure out if this means Jericho is headed back to WWE. Welcome back to the Wrestling Hidden Insight, and today we're breaking down why Jericho's cruise announcement has people convinced he's leaving AEW, what the evidence actually tells us, and whether we're about to witness one of the biggest returns in wrestling history or if we're all just overanalyzing a boat party. Let's start with what we know for sure, because in wrestling, rumors and facts get mixed up faster than a Jericho reinvention. Chris Jericho has been away from AEW and Ring of Honor since mid-April. That's over 6 months. He's been on tour with his band Fozzy celebrating their 25th anniversary, which is a legitimate reason to take time off. But here's where it gets interesting. According to reports, Jericho actually nixed plans for a brief mid-tour storyline appearance on Dynamite because he felt like it was genuinely time for a break. And that break came after fans were literally chanting "Please retire" at him. Not the usual heel heat chants. Not "We hate your character" chants. Actual "Please retire" chants. That's the kind of thing that makes even a legend like Jericho step back and reassess. Jericho recently celebrated 35 years as a professional wrestler. 35 years. That's longer than some of his opponents have been alive. And at 54 years old, the man has nothing left to prove. He's a multi-time world champion in multiple companies. He's a rock star. He's a podcaster. He's an author. He's a cruise organizer. He's reinvented himself more times than Madonna. So when rumors started circulating about a potential AEW exit and a blockbuster WWE return, people paid attention. Because if anyone could pull off one more massive career move, it's Chris Jericho. Now let's talk about this cruise announcement because it's what has everyone's speculation meters cranked up to 11. Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea has been a thing since 2018 when Jericho first partnered with the original Ring of Honor. It's exactly what it sounds like. A cruise ship filled with wrestling matches, rock concerts, comedy shows, podcasts, and probably enough alcohol to float a second ship. The concept has grown into a legitimate annual event that wrestling fans look forward to. Jericho has hosted cruises in 2018, 2020, 2021, 2023, 2024, and 2025. And now he's announced the 7th cruise for November 2026. The 7th cruise, creatively titled Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea 7th Cruise of a 7th Cruise, will set sail on Saturday, November 7, 2026 and return on Wednesday, November 11. It's on the Norwegian Jewel ship, round trip from Miami to Bimini in the Bahamas. Pre-sale for cabins starts later this month. General on-sale kicks off October 28. Standard cruise stuff. Book your cabin, pack your wrestling gear, prepare for 4 days of chaos on the open sea. Nothing unusual there. But here's what has everyone talking. The announcement didn't mention AEW at all. 0 times. In past years, these cruises have been done in partnership with AEW. They've featured AEW wrestlers. They've had actual Dynamite tapings on the ship. AEW has been a central part of the cruise experience. So the fact that this announcement completely omits any mention of All Elite Wrestling or Tony Khan's involvement is raising massive red flags. Or maybe it's raising hopeful banners if you're a WWE fan who wants to see Jericho back in a WWE ring. And it gets better. The initial lineup for the cruise features Jeff Hardy, the Great Muta, and Saraya as VIP guests. Jeff Hardy's band Paroxysm. Jen will perform. Saraya's Rule Breakers podcast will be there. Talk is Jericho will obviously be there. And here's the key detail. None of these wrestlers are currently signed to AEW or Ring of Honor. Jeff Hardy is a free agent. Saraya is in WWE. The Great Muta is a legend who appears where he wants. Not a single AEW contracted talent has been announced for this cruise. That's not an accident. That's intentional. That's Jericho either protecting himself legally because he knows he might not be with AEW by November 2026, or it's Jericho sending a very clear message about where his future lies. Now let's pump the brakes for a second and consider all the possibilities here, because jumping to conclusions in wrestling is how you end up looking foolish when the truth comes out. Option 1 is that Jericho's AEW contract expires before the cruise and he's genuinely going to WWE. In that scenario, he can't promote AEW talent for the cruise because he won't have access to them, and it would be weird to advertise AEW partnerships when he's about to be their competition. Option 2 is that Jericho is renegotiating with AEW and playing hardball by not mentioning them in promotional material to show Tony Khan that he has options and leverage. Option 3 is that this is all much simpler than we think and Jericho just wanted to announce the VIP guests first and will add AEW talent later once contracts and schedules are confirmed. But let's be real. Option 1 is the most interesting and the most likely to generate buzz. Chris Jericho returning to WWE after 5 years in AEW would be massive. It would be one of the biggest stories in wrestling. And Jericho knows how to create buzz. The man is a master of building anticipation and controlling narratives. So is this cruise announcement genuinely just a cruise announcement? Or is it Jericho planting seeds, testing the waters, seeing how people react to the idea of him being associated with non-AEW talent again? Because that's very on brand for Jericho. Let's talk about what a Jericho WWE return would actually look like because fantasy booking is fun and this scenario is too juicy not to explore. Jericho left WWE in 2018 after his feud with Kenny Omega and his surprise appearance at All In showed everyone that he was serious about working outside WWE. His run in AEW has been controversial, to put it mildly. On one hand, Jericho has been one of AEW's most reliable veterans. He's worked with younger talent. He's tried new characters and gimmicks constantly. He's been willing to do whatever Tony Khan asked of him. On the other hand, his recent run as the Learning Tree was universally panned. Fans were actively telling him to retire. His matches weren't hitting the way they used to. And there's a growing sense that Jericho has overstayed his welcome in AEW. So if he goes back to WWE, what's the move? Does he return as a legend making one final run? Does he put over younger talent on the way out? Does he get involved in storylines with people he has history with like Randy Orton or John Cena who's on his retirement tour? Does he manage or mentor someone? The possibilities are endless, and WWE's creative team under Triple H has shown they're willing to use legends in meaningful ways rather than just trotting them out for nostalgia pops.